Hey everyone, what's going on? Hope you're having an awesome day. This video wraps up this entire series. I've done every single team as of the end of this video. 5 things I like about insert team is over after this. It's been a fun ride. It's been a long journey of basically 4 or 5 months of doing this. I've learned a lot about each team because I kind of had to do a little bit of a soul searching method trying to find things that I like about certain teams, because quite honestly, there's just teams that I don't cheer for ever. I've never really cheered for teams like Tampa or maybe Boston or something like that. And the more that I've made videos on YouTube in the past 3 years about hockey, the more that I've come to like certain teams. I'm a Montreal Canadiens fan at heart. I shouldn't like the Boston Bruins, but I mean, I'm going to admit there are things about the Boston Bruins that I do really like and players on the team that I do really like. As far as Vancouver goes, I'm not a big Vancouver fan. I think they're probably middle grade for me as far as the 31 team, soon to be 32. But there's definitely things that I do like about the Vancouver Canucks in their present and in their past. And I want to kind of talk a little bit about those 5 things. So here we go. Here are the 5 things that I like about the Vancouver Canucks. Number 1, Markus NÄSLUND. Now, back when I played hockey competitively, there are a couple of players that I really tried to model my style of game around, and I'm talking about specific NHL players. Markus NÄSLUND was one of those players. I always loved what he did away from the puck and with the puck. We have so many players in the NHL, past and present, who are only good when the puck is on their stick and they don't backcheck and all this other stuff. I really liked how complete of a game that Markus NÄSLUND played. He was a very kind of quiet player, but he had this leadership thing. It's kind of like Shea Weber. Shea Weber doesn't talk a lot, but when he does, you kind of listen. I really felt like Markus NÄSLUND was that kind of player. Now, when I played hockey in the dressing room, I wasn't very vocal at all, but on the ice, I tried to be as extremely responsible as possible, much like Markus NÄSLUND, and kind of support the better players on the team. So I really liked Markus NÄSLUND. He was definitely one of my favorite players to ever play the game of hockey, and I could not, in good conscience, make this video and not have his name on this list. Number 2, the city and province. Now, I must admit, I've never been to Vancouver. However, I've been to the Vancouver airport. I don't know if that technically counts. I probably don't count that. But, seeing pictures of the Vancouver skyline and the mountains in the background and flying into the city, I did see that, flying into the city and just seeing the surrounding areas. It's such a beautiful part of Canada and the world. I really hope I could get out there and actually, spend some time in Vancouver. Maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks, just, taking in all the sights around Vancouver. It's a beautiful city, but the province in general is absolutely gorgeous. You have, in my opinion, Alberta's right there as far as most beautiful province, but they're kind of that dividing line in the mountains is British Columbia and Alberta. And Alberta is mostly flat, and where British Columbia is mostly mountainous. So I would probably give the crown to British Columbia being the most beautiful province. I remember driving from Calgary into Banff and then Banff through to Revelstoke into British Columbia, and the drive is beautiful. I just love British Columbia. I would 100% consider living there someday. That's not my goal. I'm not going to live there someday, but if things happen, I would definitely consider it. It's just a wonderful province. If you guys have not been, please go. Please do some research and go if you have the available time and the available money. Number 3, 2011. Much like the Calgary Flames in 2004, much like the Edmonton Oilers in 2006, the Vancouver Canucks go up against a U.S. team, a U.S. giant that I desperately want to see defeated. And then this 2011 version, it was the Boston Bruins. And, it was actually kind of nice to see the Boston Bruins win a Stanley Cup for the first time in a long time, but I was cheering so hard for the Vancouver Canucks. I think back to 1994 when they almost did it against the Rangers, and then boom, 2011 comes, and is it their time? Can they do it? Unfortunately, they did not do it. It's a really, really frustrating year. I really felt like, it was time. The Olympics had just happened there. The city was in such a buzz, and then boom, their hockey team gets to the Stanley Cup Finals. I was cheering so hard for Vancouver, and unfortunately, they did lose, but even though they did lose, I think back on that year, and I think back to maybe and cheering for that underdog in my I guess they weren't really an underdog, but the Boston team was such an amazing defensive team. Full props to Boston, but I was really cheering hard for Vancouver, and I think back, like I said, and just have really good memories of cheering for the team, even though they lost. Number 4, Pavel Bure. Now, I spoke about NÄSLUND before, but Pavel Bure is one of, if not my most favorite Russian player. I just loved everything about him. He's just his personality off the ice, his personality on the ice, his skill, his patience. He was just a remarkable player. And I think back way back to when I first started playing hockey, and I played hockey with some very close friends of mine. And one of my close friends, his favorite player of all time was Pavel Bure. And we would hang out all the time. We would play some street hockey and stuff, and I would pretend to be Patrick Waugh in net, and he would pretend to be Pavel Bure. So even from just a young age, that name is just engraved in my head. And I did have respect for him as a kid, and the more that I grew up, I had even more respect for him. And as an adult now, in my 30s, I have extreme respect for Pavel Bure. I wish he had been able to stay in the game longer. I would love to have an old school Vancouver Canucks, that skate jersey with his name on it. I'm definitely going to get a new, I just have the current Adidas one now, or I guess last year's, Adidas one, but I do want that black one with the skates, but I'm not going to get his name on the back because even though I would love that, he technically did not wear an Adidas jersey when he played, so that's kind of a bit of a no-no for me. So I will get that skate jersey, but with a different name on it. But maybe someday I can get an old school Vancouver Canucks Pavel Bure jersey. Number 5, jersey history. So the ending of the last one was a pretty good segue into number 5, jersey history. We talk about this one from last year, and we see the new one without the letters, and we see some changing of the logos. So you just have that kind of hockey stick one, and then you've got that 4th or other alternate jersey, the black one, which I was just talking about in the previous one with the skate. And then in the late 90s, early 2000s, I think, you had the red and kind of blue-ish one. I really want to see that one come back. That's one of my favorites of all time. I don't think there's ever been a Vancouver jersey that I've disliked since I've been alive. Now, there are some funky ones going on back when the team first entered the league and maybe just before I was born, but I mean, the Vancouver Canucks, if you think about the other teams in the league, they have, personally, subjectively, obviously, they have some of the best jerseys in the entire league for a long time. So Vancouver fans, I think you can agree, you must be happy about their jerseys. So anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I had such a fun time doing this series. This wraps it up. Although I did really enjoy it, it's been a long series. I'm kind of glad that it's over. I can kind of put it to bed. Now, some of you might request, you should do the 5 things that you don't like about each team. I'm not going to do that for 2 reasons. Reason number 1 is it took a long time to get this series done, like 4 months, and the other reason is I don't really want to purposely talk negatively about each individual team. I think there's a lot of that going on anyway, and I talk negatively enough about certain teams to go on some rants in our podcast. And that's a selfish plug. If you're not subscribed to our podcast channel, it's the Post to Post podcast hosted by Jason and myself. So we're having lots of fun over there. Unfortunately, not right now as I'm filming this because of the whole coronavirus. There's not really much to talk about in the world of the NHL. But once the NHL comes back, we will be in full force uploading and recording podcasts over there. Linked down below in the description. And guys, before you go, don't forget to tell me the 5 things that you like about the Vancouver Canucks. I read all the comments. I would love to hear your thoughts down below in the comment section. So hope you have an awesome day. Don't forget to hit the subscribe down below, and I will see you in the next video. Adios.